This video is offering an understanding about the tragedy that took place in Las Vegas a week ago and a healing from the perspective of energy work. Thanks for being with me. In order to understand what happened from the perspective of energy healing, it's important to understand the nature of the manifesting process. The reason is that it's not a coincidence that the tragedy took place in Las Vegas. It doesn't seem like a coincidence to me, because Las Vegas is the place where people come from all over the US and all over the world to test their hand with their ability to manifest wealth from almost no wealth to great wealth. It's like the potential is there in Las Vegas to do that. And people come from everywhere to test their ability to do that, to understand at a fine level of intuition as much as intellect how that mechanic actually takes place. How does a person go from being completely poor to being completely rich? It's like an amazing thing, and it can happen in Las Vegas. And I feel that the reason that this happens in Las Vegas is because the economy has built up around gambling, obviously. But the reason that the economy built up around gambling was because the laws of nature in that area, and that means having to do with the actual structures of the mountains around the area, the way the water flows through the area, the whole field of the desert there and everything. All the laws of nature there are specifically oriented towards supporting that experience, towards bringing the very fine understanding of the mechanics of manifestation to the surface so people can see it. So, no surprise that that particular economy built up around in that particular area. So in order to understand the tragedy in a little more detail, we need to look a little bit more detail about the manifesting process. The source of creation is unmanifest. It's like a great giant unmanifest field, infinite field of pure being, pure knowingness, pure potential. And from this infinite field of pure potential, manifestation occurs. And at each point in the relative field, from very, very subtle points in the relative field to absolutely dense physical points in the relative field, there are forces of destruction and creation that are taking place all the time. And they work together like a kind of an engine, because negativity pulls in one direction and positivity pulls in the other. So at each node or each point in the matrix of life, these two forces are working, pushing and pulling the field of consciousness and like churning it. And this creates this sort of swirling, churning effect that gives rise to energy. It gives rise to power. It gives rise to that simple force or that flow that's responsible for unmanifest being becoming the manifest field of creation. So negative and positive are both present. What we've been doing is we've been working at a kind of like child level of manifestation where the engine is small. It's a little bit of negativity and a little bit of positivity, and they're kind of working together and you get some manifestation. But the great awakening of awareness, of consciousness that's taking place all over the world has started to bump up the potential to manifest more quickly, more efficiently, more powerfully. And so what that means is that the engine that was working on kind of a small level has to get bigger. When the engine gets bigger, that means that the range of human potential to experience negativity and positivity, or the destructive and the constructive laws of nature, has to expand. So because we're working through our physical human bodies, the tendency is to experience that in a linear fashion. Now, we don't have to. And part of today's presentation is how we can avoid this kind of tragedy in the future. But what's been happening thus far is that the voice of the destructive laws of nature speaks first. And then that's met by positivity. And that's exactly what we saw in Las Vegas. The shooter had his moment, and he created the damage that he created. And then from all over the US and from all over the world, prayers and love and resources and sympathies poured in from everywhere. And all that light and energy healing and Reiki and all kinds of, positive energies were kind of poured into Las Vegas and poured into the families and the victims of that shooting incident. And so the negativity rose up and had its say, and then it was actually smashed with mountains of positivity. So you have the positive and the negative, the destructive and the creative energies flowing there. This is happening all the time at every level of creation. It's happening within people's bodies and minds and families and workplaces and realities everywhere. And it's really, in order to not be taken out by the negativity, balance is very important. So understanding that within every node in creation, including within ourselves, we're like nodes of creation. Negativity and positivity are working together to give rise to the manifesting process. They're both necessary. But as human beings, we have this very interesting fate. We have this very interesting role that we play in creation, that we sit in the boundary between the negativity and the positivity, and we can see them both. And in order to self-position in such a way to support these two factors working together in tandem, rather than the negativity comes and destroys and the positivity comes to build it back up again, but to be able to really work together to make a more powerful expression of manifestation, it's necessary for each of us as individuals to position ourselves at the point of balance. That's the key. And it's very important that we don't find ourselves identifying with either the negative or the positive side of creation, but allow ourselves to let go of both forms of identification and just feel into the balance that's in the middle. It is from that point of balance that divine intention is able to flow through the entire system and express itself through each one of us in the highest and most complete possible way. Because when we position ourselves in the point of balance, then that causes the negativity and positivity to sync up so that they're functioning in a balanced way. So it's not like, oh, something falls down, then I have to lift it up. It's that they're just both working together, like the hero's journey. The hero starts at home, and then he's got to go all the way and face his greatest fears. And then when he comes back to home, everything's different and he's transformed. And both the inward stroke and the outward stroke in that process are part of the hero's journey. The hero can't be transformed without doing that. So it's not that one is bad and one is good. Really, it's just that they pull in opposite directions. I mean, we can look at the tragedy and say, oh, you can't say the tragedy wasn't bad. Yeah, it was horrible. It was pure horribleness manifested. But what I'm saying is that when we position ourselves at the point of balance, then the destructive laws of nature work in favor of the individual rather than against the individual. Does that make sense? I hope so. You can tell me in the comments below if it doesn't, or if you have more questions about that. Regarding Las Vegas and regarding the area, what I'm seeing now, this is the healing part of the session. So balance, establishing divine balance. There's a level of balance. It's so fine and it's so delicate. It's so precise. At the very, very deepest level of manifested reality, at that level of manifested reality that's like the skin right against the absolute field of non-manifest source of creation, that level, that's where the balance gets established. And I'm just at this point reading off of the collective here. Thank you for being with me. That it wants to establish first the sacred chamber in the heart, that sacred inner center of the heart chakra area. And I'm also seeing for, looks like different people in the healing, different numbers of layers of ancestors, but many layers of ancestors, looking back at least 7, 8, 10, 12, in some cases, layers of ancestors, clearing a natural tendency to be frightened by the negative side of creation, or when things seem to be breaking down or not functioning properly. So we need to clear that fear, because the problem is that if there's fear attached to it, then one kind of tends to get sucked into it as well. So the only way to remain liberated from those negativities is to be able to witness them from the point of balance. So the balance that's in the hearts of everyone watching this video is now extending to your ancestry. I'm also feeling a lot of compassion moving along with it. And I'm also seeing layers or sheaths of ego clearing off of people's individuality, because there's been a tendency through the generations to identify with either negative or destructive laws of nature or constructive laws of nature sides of creation. And that identification is basically an egoic function. So that's releasing off of the system. And that just, as that's happening, I can feel that energy releasing off, and it almost feels like a rain of liberation, a rain of freedom. And that rain of freedom is part of the story of the healing for all the individuals who lost their lives within a matter of minutes, and those individuals who have had their lives transformed in what appears to be not such a good way through the physical damage that they incurred from the shooting. So that's also, and I'm feeling that rain of liberation. And it's interesting that a lot of the people that got hurt, what it's done is it's freed them from situations and circumstances that they had been locked into, that they just thought were always going to be locked into that. And now that they're not being hurt, being in the hospital has like pulled them out of their situations. And they're having a chance to sort of look at their lives from more of a broader perspective and switch up some of their priorities, and not only reprioritize, but think about what they really want in their lives. You know, sometimes we go through life just doing that same old thing and think, well, maybe someday I'll get to do what I want, or maybe I'll never get to do what I want, or something like that. And having an experience like this a lot of times can really motivate a person to just take the bull by the horns and just say, you know, I've got this one life, and I'm gonna really fulfill the motivations that are at the deepest level of my soul, so that in this lifetime, when this life is over, I can say I did what I came here to do. And so, you know, may that be a gift that everybody who suffered in the wake of the shooting can have, if they don't already possess that. Maybe some of the people already possess that. But for those who didn't, may that be something that they can come away with that will be really, really valuable and really useful to them. The other part of the healing, and I would like to do this for the people that were hurt in the shooting, is that at the deep sort of source of creation level of the physiology, there's a kind of a warmed up level. There's a great silent ocean level of source of creation, but then there's a sort of warmed up level of knowingness. At that level, the resources to rebuild the body are all accessible. And what those resources do is they come up into the causal and astral levels of the physiology. And at that level, these very, very subtle manifested levels of the physiology, it's possible to create light medicines that heal the body, that regrow tissue, that restructure. You can gain access. We're gaining access to the original blueprints of the body. So whatever area or tissues were damaged can be re-established in terms of the original blueprint of the physiology. So nothing's lost, only gained, only gained. Another thing that I see happening is greater attunement to the healing capability of the physiology, how miraculous and fantastic it is, and understanding here the people are in the place where manifestation is most prevalent, where the laws of nature that support the manifesting process are closest to the surface, where we can really see them. And what we're doing is manifesting health back in the body. So this is really the perfect place in the whole world to have this experience. You couldn't have chosen a better place to get hurt. For however comforting that can be, that in this place, as you heal, it is possible to actually, in detail, very fine detail, understand even the most abstract aspects of the manifesting process, and how those aspects can be used to rebuild the body in a way so that you are every bit as healthy as you were before, even more healthy. Because once the process of healing is understood at a very abstract level, how does the body make light medicine? I've got videos for making light medicines, and so if you want to check out more detail on that. But how the body produces the light medicine, how the body harnesses the healing capabilities to actually rebuild cell by cell by cell all the tissues that have been damaged in the body. This is absolutely possible. The doctors can create a condition where the physiology can rest and hopefully can provide something so that you're not suffering a lot of pain. But the actual healing is up to the body's intelligence. And so that's what this energy healing session is about. It's about connecting the conscious mind and the perception and the awareness with the actual manifestation of health, with the actual capabilities deep within the physiology, all those levels of body intelligence that are responsible for the rebuilding of tissue, for the healing of organs, for the dissolving of scar tissue. May everybody heal in perfection, back to your perfection. May you find your perfection through this process and find yourself in a better place than you were even before it happened. Thank you for being so brave, and thank you for taking a blow for the whole world as we move into a time of very tremendous expansion of power and change and transformation for our whole planet. Thanks again for being with me.